Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Jean. Again.
Hi, Alina.
And hi to those who'll be looking on. Excited, as always, to be back for yet another book club conversation. This time, series 4, where we're talking about The Big Leap by author Gay Hendricks. And this evening, we're chatting about chapter 4. And chapter 4 is all about the discussion of building a new home in your zone of genius. How to make every moment an expression of your genius. Janine, how is your reading going?
This reading, this chapter, it was a bit long, but by the time you actually get into reading, I was like, oh, it finished already. It was that interesting to me. And I really appreciate the fact that he draws his examples from his experiences. I
Yeah,
really do love that, yeah.
yeah. So even as you read this chapter, what would have stood out to you, whether the most significantly or otherwise?
Something that stood out to me was when he said that your ability is not unique in the whole world. There are others that apparently, well, not apparently, but there are others with that ability. But within your circle, your ability is unique. And I sat and I thought about it, I was like, yeah, there's so many event managers because obviously I was in a class with a lot of wonderful people. There's so many event managers around, but in my circle, I am the only event manager. There are others who can do what I do, but in my circle, in my because my circle is small, there's only me, and I appreciate that. It makes you feel just a little bit special, and I like that. I like that.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Uh, I think chapter 4 took me in for, it felt like a deep soak because at every stage I stayed in reflection a lot. So chapter 4 for me wasn't one of those chapters where it was a lot about projection activation so much, but it was more about I had a lot of reflection because a lot of what he was talking about it, I really could have sat and looked and appreciated a lot of bits and pieces of my journey that really complemented what he was saying. And for me, I got into a lot of reflection in um, just having that gratitude for my journey, because like you talk about sometimes being the only one. And sometimes one of the limitations of being the only one is that maybe you might have a drive or a particular perspective that others won't fully understand. So there are
Yeah.
some things you have to stand alone in because maybe you have your own passion or convictions concerning it. So I found that interested in getting in that place of reflection. And one of the things that he spoke about earlier on in the chapter, he talked about the upper limit problem that a lot of people have. And we spoke about what that is in terms of really being able to, in my words, self-actualize and not hit that ceiling, but always be able to go beyond and become your best and that kind of thing. And he said that it's a constant quest because we're always raising the bar on ourselves. And I thought
Hmm.
about that and I said, how true in terms of always raising the bar on ourselves. How has that experience been for you, Janine? That when you think of the notion of your particular experience of having to raise the bar for yourself concerning the things you do, and then you compare it to what we're learning in the book. What are your thoughts on that?
On raise me back, especially in my profession, you don't want to do the same thing twice. It's going to be boring. Who is going to want to pay for something as boring as that? You can have similar concepts, but you don't want to repeat the same thing. You don't want it to look the same. You want to have something that's always fresh. You may have the same concept, but you want to keep it feeling fresh.
Yeah.
And that's something I like to do. That brings out my creative juices, and I love that. I love that. It's because it's something that we were challenged. And I keep saying this at the graduation, and it's something that always stuck with me. what's next? What's next? How are you going to top yourself? How are you going to make this better? When you evaluate what you did before, can you do something even greater than that? And it's something that I love and I cherish and I enjoy. I love
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I thought it's interesting. It's something that I've thought about from time to time, but he really put it in words, and I want to know what your thoughts are. And he said most people have a carefully crafted, well justified story about why they can't take their big leap. And it's a behavior, a human behavior that I've really been observing others and even observing myself when I question myself about why I do or why I don't. Um, what is your thought on that? The fact that a lot of people tend to have a carefully crafted, well justified story about why they can't take their big leap. And is this something you have ever experienced?
It's something I've thought about before, where you throw blame on others for your shortcomings.
Right.
If you take away that blame and you start to think about what could you have done to make that better, take away that blame, be honest with yourself, take away that blame. Is there anything you could have done, or did you just sit back and say, well, that was the situation and I can't do any better than that? I had to look back at so many things that I've been through, and I thought, yeah, I could have done this even. I could have taken time to do this. I could have made the extra effort to do that, and it made me look back and think about those things.
Yeah.
Not to throw blame and take that out.
But as we brainstorm together, for so many people that seems like such an impossible task.
It
What do you
is.
think it
It's hard.
is? What do you think it is that prevents people from being able to step into that space of responsibility, though, of instead of just blaming everybody else why it couldn't work or why it didn't go the way it was
Because
supposed to go?
it's easy. It's easy to throw blame or to let somebody take the blame for your shortcomings. It's very easy
Because
to
it's the
make
easy way.
yourself look and smell like a rose. Yeah, that's not my fault. It's very easy to say that, and I don't want to say it's difficult to do the opposite, but it's more challenging. And I think I've come to the realization that if you do challenge yourself, you can get it done.
Yeah.
You can get it done. So again, I had to take a look back.
Do you create stories to yourself
Pardon
in
me?
your head? Do you create stories to yourself in your head about why you can't?
Um, no, I don't think I've ever created stories. I can create a story. I mean, that's basically what event management is. You experience the story. You are experiencing the story that we are creating. Um, that's a very interesting question.
Yeah, no, I mean, in your own journey, because he's
Yeah,
saying that many people have a well justified story. They have a really good reason about why they can't get it done, why they can't achieve it, why they can't get a job, why their circumstances can't improve, why they can't get a better situation, why they're in whatever it is. That there's a lot of people, they have a really good justification why I can't show up, why I can't be on time, whatever it is. For many people there is a really everybody we have a really good reason why it didn't work. And so it's really interesting that when it comes to goals and achieving things in life, a lot of time the same thing applies, that for many of us we have a really good reason why we couldn't fulfill. And I'll come to it later on when the note pops up. But he told a story about Nancy, and I highlighted it because it really brought it back to me when he started talking about Nancy. But I don't remember it right now. I know later on when I see it in my note, I'll remember. But you're gonna say something, Janine?
no, I was just thinking that it's as I said, it's easy to create that story and to just rock back on it, and you have me thinking about all, because of the times where before I started this event management journey, I used to think, well, okay, um, that's just what I met, and I don't want to challenge that. And I'm like, then I started to think, no, there are different ways to think about doing things. I've always been that that unorthodox child. I've always my aunt always used to give a story that I learned to plait hair by going outside and practicing. And I'm like, yeah, because nobody going to let me, again, you put a limit on yourself. Nobody going to let me touch the hair. So I going outside where the grass is, the grass not going to complain if I start to plait the grass into
Yeah.
the lines and that I liked. So from that, I started again. I went back and I started to think of all those things, those times when I limited myself, and even after I started to do the plaiting of the hair in the grass, they took note of it. And my mother started to say, "Well, come, let me." I think she remember. I remember her showing me how to do how she would plait my cousin's hair. Not my mother, sorry, my aunt would show me how to plait my cousin's hair, the way to go about it. And it's because I was putting the limit and saying, "Well, they're not going to let me touch anybody." Say, but when they see me out in the grass, they took an interest. So I removed the limit on myself. That's say that blame that I don't want to say blame, but that limit saying that nobody's going to touch me and I go outside. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to learn um, by myself. I'm going to practice by myself
Yeah.
until I get it right and somebody notices and lets me go to the next level.
Yeah. You know, he gave a different perspective, what felt for me like a different perspective. And he said, in your zone of genius, you don't feel like you're working. Even though you spend the time, even though the time you spend there produces great financial abundance, you don't feel like you're expending effort to produce it. In this zone of genius, work doesn't feel like work. So when you start thinking about that, I think in our earlier conversation, I can't remember if you had put yourself in competence, or I don't remember for sure. But
Yeah, I did put competence.
so when you think about that
Yeah.
explanation for zone of genius, is it does it bring new perspectives that maybe there are some areas that maybe might be a zone of competence, but maybe there might be areas of your life that are actually in zone of genius? That is not just one big bubble. Because when I first started reading, I thought it was one big bubble. All of me is in one. And I think, and it's a pity Mommy Ingrid isn't here, because I remember she was saying when she look at some areas, she feels incompetent. When she look at some places, some other
She
instances,
did
she thinks she's competent. Other spaces, she thinks she's excellent. And as we go along, for me, that's the perspective I'm now pulling out of it, that it is probably possible, and I'm sure as we read it would unfold itself, that it's not necessarily one big bubble, but rather we could be in different zones in different spaces of our lives based on how we've evolved. Because sometimes my relationship skills might be more developed than my health and wellness or my whatever other area of life, you know. So when you think about that, are there areas of your life that maybe you function in zone of genius? I'm asking you.
when I think about
When you
crafting
think
an
about the
event.
fact that he's saying that when you're in your zone of genius, you don't feel like you're working. The time just goes, and you don't feel like you're expending effort to produce it. In the zone of genius, work doesn't feel like work.
It doesn't. When I'm crafting an event and I'm in the designs phase, and I have this picture based on the information that I have and the research that I've done, I have this picture of how it's supposed to look. And sometimes I would just be going, and when I do take stock, it's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, Mom, you need sleep as well, but you don't feel that. And I've been working since I've been going at it since 7 o'clock in the night, and it's 3, 4 in the morning, and you don't feel that because you love what you do. Because I love what I do, it does not feel like work, and that I think that part is my zone of genius. I do love that design days when all my creativity can flow and all the ideas come out, and I love that part of it. The hard work after is to bringing it to reality, but I love that creative phase of it.
Yeah, I thought it noteworthy that he said that the power of your commitment brings forth the means necessary for you to live in your zone of genius. Because I think that's what chapter 4 is all about, getting you to a place of living in zone of genius. And he said that if you were to make a powerful, sincere commitment that you want to live in that space, your journey will be blessed with uncommon good fortune at all the twists and turns of the road. Commitments have power. And even as I read that, it didn't click the first time I read it, but it just clicked there when we were reading about the uncommon dream in Book Club Convo Series
Hmm.
3.
Yep.
That just triggered
Yep.
that for me. And here it is, that whole notion of an uncommon experience. So certainly, because you and I did that project together, we could really take it that zone of genius and living out the uncommon dream seem to be hand in hand in terms of what
Yeah,
we're
when he
doing
said
in
it,
the direction.
you have everything that you need. Why aren't you living in your zone of genius? You have everything in you.
Yeah.
I did remember that as well. I did.
Yes. So, question number one, Janine, what do I most love to do? Were you able to answer that question to yourself and
I
actually
just
put it in
did.
a sentence?
I love being creative. I love it. I could be cleaning with a mop. I could be mopping and I was like, okay, I'm gonna mop this way, or I'm gonna mop this way, or I'm gonna mop this. I love being creative. I mean, sometimes I do have to stop myself and like, girl, just mop and get it done and go away. But I love that. I love being creative. I don't know, it's something about it that keeps me going. It fuels me. I like that. I also like seeing people be creative because I can be on YouTube as well, and I would be looking at people being creative at solving problems, solving little problems. I love those design shows and stuff like that. And people saying, okay, I have all of this storage. Sorry, I have all these things to store. How do I go about, making it looking neat and nice and functional? I love looking at those shows because again, I will see things and like, oh, I mightn't use it the way they use it, but I can transform that into something else and my creativity will just flow as well. I like that. I like that part of it.
Yeah,
I love
even
it.
yeah, the genius question number two says, "What work do I do that doesn't seem like work?" And that's when it got me reflective because I was like, my head's like, none of the work that I do feel like work. Listen,
Because you love
I
what you do.
I do. If my physical being did not need to sleep, I probably wouldn't sleep. No, like legit. That's the
I
extent
know.
to which
I
I
understand
love
it.
it. It's not because it's mandatory or I'm obligated to do something, but I think I haven't been able to think yet of anything that I do that I absolutely hate. And that's why at the beginning of our conversation, I said it was a very sobering and reflective read for me because I really got into thinking like there isn't anything in terms of like the work that I do, the things that I do, the things I'm involved with, that I'm like, God, I wish I didn't have to do that now. I granted, let's be real. I know the days I will always remember the days when I hated my job. Not the one I have
Yeah,
now, obviously, but
yeah, yeah.
I will
I know what
always
you mean.
remember the days where I hated going to work for years. And this is not just one workplace. It was it wasn't about that particular company or that particular group of people I was working with, but I hated going to work. I hated my work. I remember, I will tell you, Janine, I remember not the exact moment, like the date or the year, but I remember the moment, as in the experience, when it dawned on me that what I thought I wanted is not what I wanted at all. Listen, that was a moment because I thought I like dealing with people in my head back then. I like working with people. I want to interact with people. I want to help people. And when I talked to the guidance people, this it pointed me to a job in HR. And I thought, I'm gonna go
That's
work
it.
in HR. And then I got an HR and I was like, oh, what is this?
Mm-mm.
This is HR is the place that angry people go. That is the conclusion I came to while I was working there. HR is the place that when it goes wrong, that's where you go. You go to HR. And
I can
it
imagine for IR as well.
was, oh God, let us not talk about that. And I absolutely hated it. And I hated everything else after it. And I was like, imagine I studied all these years only to come out with the people's qualification, all the letters after your name, only to realize you hate it. It's not what you want to do. So I know about that.
Mm-hmm.
I know about that. And so
As
it
do
was
I.
as it was very interesting to read this and again I spoke about being reflective and getting into that place of gratitude because here it is now. I was so grateful that that is no longer my journey. Grateful that I am and I have been for quite a while operating in the place that I love. I love what I do. I'm fulfilled. I'm maximized. I glow to think about the projects that I'm involved in. I love, 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 love. And to be grateful, like they spoke about, I can do it all day long without ever feeling tired or bored. To be grateful that it is no longer my story, that I don't get up and say, gosh, I have to go to work. I no longer look forward to long weekends to run away. I don't feel the need to run away. I don't feel the
Because
need
they love
to.
what you're doing.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I love that. So that for me was really, really
I can
huge.
understand that because my I'm now I can say now that I'm in my zone of genius. I've always been creative, yes. But Alina, you've known me as long as you've known me. I've always liked to sing. And I thought, well, maybe, I can probably veer off there. But then I started to get into the background of the organizing. And I realized that I loved this. I loved to make sure that everybody was okay, make sure everything was all right. I make sure that even when I wasn't before I started to be on committees, if I am packing, and mommy or my mother always said this, when you doing things like that, make sure you pack for you and for
Um,
a needs that somebody else may have that they didn't realize. So I always, I had a friend who, I had a coworker who used to say that she always said that I had a haberdashery because anything they needed, they used to come to me for. But is it? I always try to have things like that. If I can have for me and for you, and I know you need it, here, take it, take it,
yeah,
take it, right? So I've always been like that. So I thought I was going to be singing, and then I realized, nah, Johnny, nah, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you
yeah,
like. And then I had a friend as well. We had, and I always give him credit for this. We had a secret Santa, and he said they had somebody else in charge of it. And he said, no, I want you to be in charge. I'm like, me? Why me? He said, no, because you're very organized. I want you to be in charge. And just took me back to the fact that he even realized that I was like that. Because
yeah,
again, I do it for me. I might prepare for you as well, but I do it for me.
yes,
So and I thought, well, okay, if he's seeing it, because I value his opinion, if he's seeing it, then maybe I should look into it. And then I was speaking to a friend, a couple of ex-classmates, And I said, well, I do it all the time. Maybe I should look into getting certified. And she said, well, why don't you check orthodontia? I'm like, oh, I never knew. So while I'm stepping into my zone of genius, the way was being cleared
Yes,
for me.
I love
From him
it.
telling me I should go into that, to my friend telling me where I should go. Yeah, it's again, we're back to the uncommon dream. But
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
And it's interesting too, even as I'm listening to you talk, um, the value in acknowledging that everybody's journey is different. In some ways, you stepped into it because someone sort of prompted you and saw something great and said, "Hey, why don't you try to?" Be like, yeah, why not? And you stepped into it. For me, I stepped into my areas out of crisis, and it's because there were things happening. Yeah, I stepped into it because of crisis. When I first got into business, it was because my dad wasn't well, and I was going through that phase of realizing I hated all my jobs. So when he felt very ill, I was I had a decision to make because I'm in between jobs trying to find a job that can make me feel good. And
Mm-hmm.
when he fell ill, I was like, oh my God, I need to go back to work because now there's a medical bill that I need to help my family
Mm-hmm.
out. And
Mm-hmm.
in going back, the reality I had to face, the reality that dawned on me in that moment is that none of these people are going to give you what you want. And for people who are in the workforce, there's this experience where you go to the interviews, you attend the meetings, they promise you the moon and the stars and the shuttle and everything else in between, and then you start the job and it doesn't work out the way it's supposed to, and it's all kind of hop and skip and drop and all sort of stuff that goes on in the
Mm-hmm.
process of that negotiation to get to whatever is your version of this is the circumstance I want for my work life. And I did a couple interviews and I realized, okay, you just have to decide, are you gonna not settle, but are you going to adapt to this or not? Because the reality for me, Dawn, that it's just not going to happen. That I can't tell you why. I can just tell you that was my thought. It's not going to happen because I've been working for all of these years, and it's not changing. It doesn't matter where I go, big, small,
You got a
woman,
word.
man, lead. It doesn't matter what the vision was. It was all boiling down to the same thing. None of these jobs were allowing me to self actualize and to become the thing that I was feeling. I could feel it, I could sense it. And at that point, I made a decision, I'm not going back to work. I'm not going to do it because I was really tired of going to interviews and people loving me. They love me. And see, I pull out a piece of paper and I rest it and oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, everybody love me, but you don't want to give me what I want. I can't
Mm-hmm.
be mad. It's your business, it's your job, do you? But this is not going to work for me. And this is not something I communicated to anybody because it's not about the business. It's not about the employer. It's not about me being mad that they're not offering me a package that I feel I deserve. No, it's about me recognizing this is what I want. And I could either accept this for what it is and adapt, or I could not. I chose to not. I chose to decide if I'm amazing as everybody says I am, I don't need you to make money. And that legit was
Ah.
my thought. Legit, that was my thought. If I'm amazing, I have been to so many meetings, I've worked in enough places. Everybody thinks I'm amazing. Oh my God, you can do this. Oh my God, you can do that. I am so amazing, but you're not going to give me what I want. No problem. That I'm not going to come to you. And I just
Mm-hmm.
stopped and I decided I'm not doing this. If I am so amazing, let me test out this amazingness. So it was out of crisis because something was going on. I anticipated a great financial responsibility and I needed to figure it out. I didn't want to jump through hoops to figure it out. And I had confidence in me. I knew that I could depend on me And that was huge. I knew I could depend on me. I wasn't confident that I could depend on the manager of the business who was offering me the job and then telling me I'll call you back in 2 days to confirm. I can't depend on you. I didn't feel as though I could depend on that person. But you know who I could depend on? I could depend on me. Because I know I would get up early and go to bed late and do whatever I have to do to make it work. And that's what I did. And
I
it was
like that.
a blessing.
But that's why you're in zone of excellence. That's why I think you're in the zone of excellence. That's why I think you function. And you have, I also think that you're very, very, if not there already, you're very, very close to the zone of genius.
Oh, I reached to reading all that now. But
No, I am, I am telling you that that's how I feel about it.
I'll discover that as I go
Do not,
along.
don't limit yourself, but you're
But
functioning very well.
no, I'm not limiting myself at all. But that's the purpose of us reading the book to it, to discover these elements of self through this particular perspective. But it was crisis that thrusted me into like, nah, let me do what I love and let me provide for me. And that's what I did. And that's what I've been doing. And the things that I do now, I had no intentions of when I first started. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make X, none. Listen, I just wanted to make X amount of dollars so that I could pay my bills and be cool. That's it. I didn't plan on none of the things that I do were planned. None. When I tell you none, I do mean none. None, none. But you know what? I think that's why it's so important. Like he talked about, as we just mentioned, commitment. That commitment is
Mhm.
so important because it allows us to keep the drive going while we're discovering what's on the inside. And as we discover what is on the inside and we stay committed to the process of bringing it out, then anything is possible. Because it's not like I was chatting with somebody just yesterday, I think it was. I was accompanying someone to their appointment, and one of the employees was somebody that I knew from a couple months ago. But time I saw her, she was young, young, and now she's finished school and she's graduated and she's working. And we were just chatting, and she made a comment. She was talking about she's not sure what she wants to do because she's looking at the world and everything that's going on, not just with COVID, but just everything that's going on. And I was telling her, I said, babe, in my opinion, you should not look to the world to figure out what you want to do. The world tells you the
Hmm.
adaptation that is needed. But if you want to figure out what you want to do, the areas need to function, need to look on the inside. Don't look on the
Yeah,
outside.
I needed you when I was 16. I started to resent this. I needed you when I was 16. I needed somebody to.
I told her that. I said, if you have to look at the trends of the world to find your place, you will always be lost because there's nothing consistent about the world. But if you look on the inside to discover the seeds that are inside of you, you nurture it, you bring it out, you grow that, you will always be grounded. And then what's going to happen is when the trends are wrong, you change, you just adapt the expression, you adapt how you do it, but you don't adapt necessarily what you do. If a person is a problem solver at their core, the world would change, and all would happen is that they'll be solving a different problem, but they'll
A
be doing the
different
same thing.
problem.
They could be
That's
solving
correct.
problems.
Yeah, but he spoke about that as well. That means that you're going to another level. You're always going to your level of genius is always going
Yes,
to be different because things are
yeah.
changing around you.
Yeah, you adapt. You adapt. I think it's because I didn't read this. It's just my thought, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
adapt and you discover. You adapt to the outside, you discover what's on the inside. I believe that what is on the inside is deep. I don't want to say limitless. I'm tempted to say limitless, but the fact that we die means it's not limitless. But I think it's pretty deep. The thing on the inside, there is always more to discover. For as long as we have breath, there is always more to discover. And as we discover and we unearth and we bring it out and we live it out, we adapt, there's always a new version that's going to come out. Always.
Can you imagine this world or what this world would be like if the majority of people were living in their zone of genius, and there weren't people telling others or telling people that you can't do that, this is not for you, because they believe that it's not for you, while you know it's inside you. Can you imagine what kind of world this would be?
Yeah. And I think it has so much to do with tapping into what is on the inside. That is key. We have to tap into what is on the inside of us, because when we tap into what is on the inside, we what we bring out is something that should have good foundation, because it's not moving with the influences, with the external influences, with the forces, with the naysayers, with the people who they intentionally want to distract you because they don't want to see you thrive. When you disconnect all of that and you tap into what's on the inside, you're good. When I say you're good, in terms of having that solid foundation to keep motivated, so that's why I laugh all the time when I talk about living in a leaner land, but I really do live there. I live in my own world in my head. What's that? You live in Janine land? Do you live in Janine land?
Oh my gosh, I have many residences there. You go from one to the other. I love it. I love it. When you see I shut that front door and I decide, okay, let's go. I can come up with oh my gosh, that I can't even put words to it.
Yeah.
That the things in my head, the places that I go, I come to think about, that's probably where my creativity stems from. I
I
don't.
live
want-
in a
I,
leaner
I
land,
have a friend.
and I like it
I have
though.
a friend who says La La Land, but
No,
I
it's
don't want
not
to
La
go
La
to the La
Land. It's a
La Land
leaner
part. Yeah, I
land
don't want to go to the
for
La La Land.
me.
This is the Johnny Land part of it. I love it. I love it. And I'm saying this, and I'm thinking, how people usually describe like an acid trip where there's flowers and trees.
That's how Janine land looks.
It can look like that on some days.
Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
God. I
I
love
love
it.
it. But like question number 3 though says, in my work, what produces the highest ratio of abundance and satisfaction to amount of time spent? What gives highest ratio of abundance and satisfaction?
Hmm. I don't know how to answer that. I'm being very honest with you.
When I thought about it, I realized that my my ratios are pretty equitable. Fortunately, again, this brings you back to gratitude. Remember, I was saying that as I reflected, I realized that all of the things I'm involved in are things I love, I'm passionate about. They come from the inside. I am not able to identify any element of my life that I'm involved in that I dislike, I don't like, that does not bring me satisfaction. The work that I
And
have done, go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
I do have that though.
The work that I have done, though, over the last maybe 3 years or so, means
Mhm.
that all of the things that we can't control life, though, so it doesn't mean you have great satisfaction in everything just because it's what you want to pursue. But
Mhm.
the self work that I have done in the last 2 to 3 years mean I feel, as I reflect on this, means I have an equitable amount of abundance and satisfaction in the time that I give to it. Does that make sense to you? Like
Mhm.
there is none that is greater. I equally enjoy digital programming as much as I equally enjoy being a principal, as much as I equally enjoy being a teacher, as much as I equally enjoy my family life, as well as I equally enjoy my self time, as well as I equally enjoy the other and the other and the other. And for the time that I give, I get equitable satisfaction. None is not for me. None is greater than the other. Now, I'm not.
Well,
I
I know he
understand for
spoke.
many people that may not necessarily be their story because everybody's journey is different. But I'm just saying, for me and my reflection, that's at least my thoughts to moment. But what were you going to say, Janine?
I know he spoke in this chapter as well about drilling down. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I have to sit with this. I didn't get a chance to sit with it, but
Wow.
marketing is not my strong point.
Right.
Marketing and it is not my strong point. So I need to sit and drill down into that and figure out what I don't like about marketing, why I don't like about it. Can I change it? What if I do believe I can change it? What do I have to do to change it? How much time am I going to commit to it? I have to drill down into it, but I already know I don't like the marketing part
But I
of
think too, it this is just a thought. It's about finding strategy as well. So, for
well, right, that's what I'm
example,
saying. So
mhm,
that's why I said I have to drill down into it to find out what I don't like about it so that when I do find that, what do I do now to change it?
yeah,
Because I can't have all this creativity and be bad at marketing. Something is wrong there. What's the disconnect and how do I tap into that and make that better?
yeah. Because for me, there are certain things that there is not that satisfaction. I'm not doing it. That's just, I'll be honest. I just not going to do it. And
But I
but
that's why I
I'll
prefer
put
to
it
get
like
somebody
this
else to
though.
do.
Exactly. If it's critical to business, then the strategy in it is that, oh, I need to outsource this service.
That's right.
Or
That's what I do.
in a case where it's not a service that I can outsource for whatever reason, then I need to change my mindset.
Hmm.
One to the two. But either way, I'm not gonna be miserable going through it. I'm not doing that.
I've learned if I again I have my zone of genius. You have your zone of genius. If your zone of genius is marketing and mine isn't, I prefer to give that to you. Be you. Do the best that you can be while I
You
continue to do what
enjoy.
it is I can do. Yeah,
You
yeah.
enjoy.
But I really do need to. I want to. It's not that I need to because I said, as you said, we can outsource. But I want
Can
to
I give
figure
you
out
an
what about it.
oversimplified example?
Sure.
I don't like cleaning windows. I giving you a real oversimplified example. I don't like cleaning windows. I clean everything else
Except Windows.
but windows. I'm not cleaning windows. I'll give you another oversimplified example. I don't like washing wells. Does that make me nasty? No, I just really don't like washing
Don't
wells.
like it. Yeah.
So then I have a deal struck in my house where I do most other things except wash wells. Listen, if it have 10 things to do in the house, I will strike a deal that say you wash wells and I'll do the other nine. That's how bad
Chief cook and chief cook and bottle washer. So I have to strike the deal with myself.
Right, but you
You
understand where I'm coming
see,
from. It's about
I do understand.
recognizing. I hate it. I mean, if I have to do it, I'll do it. But then it's about
Mm.
strategy. How can I get to not have to wash wares? Sure, you do the wares, and I'll do the other seven things.
I
Everybody
prefer
happy.
stuff like that. Yeah.
So
If
whether it's
if
in the
I
home, whether it's in the business, whether it's in the what,
mhm.
there's a place to have that experience and to figure out a way.
I still need to. Even though if at the end of it it lets me know this is not for you,
Yeah,
I still need to sit and
and
figure
that's
out
okay.
why is this not for you? Yeah.
Hmm.
So to put my mind at ease, because when he spoke about drilling down, because he was speaking to the lady who put, I think it was household chores before her passion of writing.
Nancy, remember I told you
That was
Nancy's story
Nancy,
stood out to
right?
me.
And I was like, I I really do that. I think, okay, I need to have all these things done first so I would have the rest of the time to do what it is I want to do. And as a matter of fact, because I finished reading this chapter yesterday, and I put it into a little bit of practice into it when I was finished. Because like, okay, I have clothes to wash, I have this and that and the other to do, and I thought, why not do what you like to do and then do that? I was like, oh, okay, let me put it in front. And I did like it a little bit, but again, I was a little bit scared. Like,
Yeah.
okay, but I still have this and that
And
to
it's about
do.
the mindset. And that's the only thing that
Yes,
there is a limitation that she placed on herself
on
where
herself. Yeah.
she lived life as though I have to do this, and only when I do this, then I can do that. And she just assumed what people felt and assumed her husband would not be happy, or she operated as though her husband wouldn't be unhappy until she had to actually answer and be like, no, well, he wouldn't care or he wouldn't be bothered by it. And so that's what the thing with Nancy that said that how we and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, how we create stories in our minds and have great justification for why we're
Mm-hmm.
stuck in this position when sometimes it's just about adjusting the mindset. And that was really interesting.
But
You
I liked how
know, me do
he
that.
I liked how he made it real when he said that for her, and I could see it for me, it's not going to happen right away. It took her a while
Yeah.
because she still went back into the old routine and all of
But
that.
the
But
awareness matters.
yeah, yeah. So I like that aspect of it. Again, I really like how he draws on what has happened to him and the incidents that he has had to bring it home for you. Because had he not spoken about Nancy, I'd have been like, okay, and
Yeah.
but I like that. I like that he has the stories.
Yeah. Genius, question number 4. What is my unique ability? Is that a question you were able to answer for yourself?
But yeah, I know my unique ability. I know my
I love it.
I know my unique ability. I always know it.
Mm.
And I have to say now that I'm speaking, the fact that, and it's something that somebody also said to me, that yeah, I am creative, but I'm a happy creative. I'm always smiling. I'm
I
always
love
smiling,
that.
and I know
I could see that on your website where we start off. Meet Janine. I'm a happy creative. Listen, that's
I'm a
getting
happy
the ball
creative.
rolling. I love that.
Listen,
I'm waiting.
no, genius nuggets.
The next time I click on your website or your social media or whatever, and I see about Janine, I look forward. Line number 1 or someone said it. I'm a happy
In my
creative. I
bio, I am
love
a happy
it.
creative. I'm going to. That is my gem for today.
Yeah,
I'm a
I
happy
love it.
creative.
I
But
absolutely love it.
I'm always smiling, and I think that's what most people gravitate, because I know I've have experience as well where people say, "Why are you always so happy? Why are you always smiling?" I have a joy in my heart.
Yep.
I'm happy. There's so many other things that could bring you down. Why are you
Yeah.
choosing to be down?
That is right. And
Why?
even I was quoting Chanel recently, where I think in the first episode, she spoke about making a decision to be happy more hours in the day or something like that, or to
Yes, yeah,
enjoy
yeah.
your day for more hours. And that's something that really has stuck with me that, I think about like in the moments if something's about, like if I get bad news or news that I didn't want to or whatever, I'd be like, you know what? I'm not even gonna get upset because I want to spend more hours of my day feeling happy.
Yes, I go to Johnny Land. I go to Johnny Land. I'm happy
Yeah,
there,
I love
and
it. But
I relax.
yeah,
I
Janine,
love
it
it.
was so great connecting with you. For
Same
another
here.
book club conversation, we missed Mommy Ingrid and Chanel tonight, but it's all good. We're
Yeah.
continuing to read. I'm looking forward to reading about living in your zone of genius, the ultimate success mantra to thrive in love, abundance, and your favorite word, creativity. So until next week, it was great. Have a good week, and I'll see you next week, Thursday. Goodbye to
Bye.
those who have been watching.